Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices and we've allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, the constituent, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. Now, if you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders accountable and those in leadership positions accountable, well, make sure that you subscribe to our social media platforms. Currently, right now, this live feed is being streamed on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Facebook. You could find us there under Frankie Olivo. Make sure you add us to our personal page on Face. We could be found under Olivo Frankie. But more importantly, we ask, if you haven't already, make sure that you create a Gmail account, go to YouTube, and subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, I will never ever ask you for money, Brownsville. I will never ever ask you for food. Well, depends what you're making. All I ask of my community is something very simple. I'm not that hard to please, Brownsville. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page titled Frankie Olivo TV. Currently, right now, we are at the 805 mark. Our goal by the end of this year is to reach 1,000 subscribers. Once we're at 1,000, ladies and gentlemen, everything will be gravy. And always remember that Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., sometimes a little bit after, religiously. So make sure that you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube to tune in. We will not be silenced. And always remember, Brownsville, I am forever grateful to each and every one of you for the time and attention that you provide us. Thank you so much for that. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Hump Day. Happy Hump Day, ladies and gentlemen. First day of the month. I hope this start of this week has been pleasant. I myself have been very busy, and for work in 2 weeks it's gonna be chaos. But I love chaos. I love being under pressure. I feed off of that. And I'm just thankful to God that I continue to be busy while many consider this time from the summer to October to mid-October. It's supposed to be us insurance brokers, insurance agents. It's supposed to be a slow downtime. Well, thank God that I've been busy. Thank you in large part to my community for allowing me to serve in different capacities. I'm very thankful to each and every one of you for that. Something very interesting happened a few weeks ago. And when I start the show, I always say, you know what? I don't ask for much. All I ask for is a simple subscription. Make sure you follow all my pages on social media. Go to X, Twitter, go to Facebook, go to YouTube. Make sure you go to YouTube. And I always say, I'll never, ever ask you for money, Brownsville. I will never, ever ask you for food. Last week, I found myself in Corpus at an event, at a political event. And someone said, I recognize you. I'm like, well, maybe. This is in Corpus. I'm like, well, I'm from Brownsville. Like, yes, you're Frankie, right? I said, yes. And this was at a restaurant. And they said, I asked for the menu, and then they said, when I got my meal, they said, I'm paying for this. I'm paying for this. I'm like, okay. And they made sure that they let it be known, like 3-4 times. I'm paying for this. I'm like, God damn, like I can pay for my own meal, but thank you. And then it dawned on me that person said, yeah, well, you always ask, that you never ever ask for money, that I guess you would ask for food. So There's your food. And I started laughing when it dawned on me. I was like, oh man. Don't think I'm like that, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you ever see me in the streets, you don't know me. No, if you ever see me in the streets, hey man, just offer me a glass of water. Offer me a taco de frijol con su quesito. When I used to travel with my grandfather, and he continues to do so for his missionary work, he travels to San Luis Potosí, and it keeps us humble whenever we travel and travel out of the country, and see people live modestly. And what I've learned from my grandparents and from people living in Mexico, while our brothers and sisters in San Luis, while where I was a part of the missionary work for the church, that my grandfather has done for decades, many years. They're very proud people, and they'll give you everything. They'll give you their beds, they'll give you their food, and that's one of the biggest things that they can do to somebody, especially an out of towner. They say, "Hey, here's a glass of water. Hey, here's a meal." While to us it may seem, insignificant, like, oh, he gave me a meal. To them, it's like they're giving you $1,000. They're giving you $100. Here's food. Here's something to drink. Maybe those are old customs that we don't practice. My grandfather would always say that back in the day, that people would come from far away, and sometimes they didn't have vehicles, so they came in a donkey, they came in a horse, they came in a bus, in a train. And when a person came to your house, you always offered them water. And that always stuck with me. So that's why I don't ask much of my community. And look, I understand the ramifications, the consequences that come with having this podcast. This mic, ladies and gentlemen, is very powerful. It transcends and makes waves, and we are listened to by the thousands. And I'm very humbled by that. I will never, ever let it get to my head. But there are dangers with what I say, with the topics I focus on, the things we uncover. Many people might not realize that. If you notice, I never post anything personal. It has affected my relationships previously, and I've learned to try and protect the people that I most love. And many people don't understand that. They say, oh, well, you're embarrassed, or, oh, it's my birthday, why didn't you post? Or I do it because I'm aware of the danger that I'm in. The last thing that I would want to do is bring attention to others that aren't involved in this. Now, the old code was you don't mess with family. You don't mess with loved ones. But now there aren't no rules in this game. So I went off on a little tangent, but I'm very thankful to my community. My community is also, again, I will never ask you for money, Brownzo. Never, ever, ever. That's what I have my mom for. That's what I have my brothers for. I will always ask them for money. I always ask them for food. But the community, unbeknownst to me, they have found my Cash App and sent me money. I was like, no, you don't have to. And they're like, no, have a burger, have a meal. Again, I don't encourage that. I really don't. I don't want you to think that este pediche nomás anda con la mano así. No, by no means. Again, I live a very good life. A very good life. I wouldn't trade it for the world. If I were to die tomorrow, I lived a beautiful life. But I am very thankful to my community who are supportive, who in their own way want to give back. And again, if you ever see me in the streets, just offer me a glass of water. People say, oh, what do you need? You need money? Do you need this? You need that? No, I just need your support. I just need you to subscribe. The best way you can help me, ladies and gentlemen, the best way you can help our program. Happy birthday, Montelongo. Hope you have a great birthday. What day is it? My brother's is on the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. The 11th or the 17th. I love you, Tiger. But the best way that you can help me is go to YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That to me is the best thing that somebody could do to me, because it's as if they were giving me $1,000. Really. So if you do want to contribute to the cause, if you do want to be part of this movement, go to YouTube and subscribe to Frank Olivo TV. Someone asked me, why do you do this? Why are you constantly talking about BISD? Nobody cares about BISD. You're the only one that cares. Why do you talk about the city? Do you know that people aren't interested? That people don't care? I beg to differ. I like to think that people genuinely are concerned with what is going on with our with what is happening in our local throughout the different entities, be it the city, county, and school district. People are interested. They don't have this media attention that the big dogs, such as Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 23, now they merged. Somebody asked, why isn't this information that you're talking about in regards to the corruption at BISD, why isn't it on the news? We are the news. We're providing you information that others can't or won't cover. What I find fascinating is that people do gravitate to this platform. People do gravitate to our page. And again, we're very thankful for that. But I want you to realize that I'm not chasing. Going back to what people ask me, hey, why do you do what you do? Nobody cares, Frankie. You think people give a crap about you or what you have to say? That's fair to say. But again, people think that I'm doing this for my own personal gain. People are saying, oh, well, you have political aspirations and you're doing this to help benefit you. Again, it wouldn't be in my best interest to talk about the things that we've been talking about because they're very delicate in nature. I'm going after the big dogs. And we have big stories lined up. I'm just waiting for the thumbs up for my team. And when I say that I bring heaters, I bring bangers, we got some juicy stories, ladies and gentlemen, lined up for you. I just have to wait that everything is lined up. But I come before you because I want to talk about the important issues. I think it's fair to say that we don't get that anywhere else. I take pride in this platform and in this podcast because we talk about the important things that affect you and your household. At the end of the day, I want to make something very, very clear. I'm not after political aspirations with this podcast. I'm not looking for personal gain from this podcast. You want to know what I'm after? You want to know what I'm chasing? I want to be part of a movement. I want to be part of something big. People reach out to me with their concerns, with their problems because they have gone to the proper channels. People have turned their backs on them and they come to us and they say, help me. I learned from a great master who always taught me the responsibility that one has to its community, to fight for people, to give voice to the voiceless, to be their champion. I'm not after political aspirations, by no means. If I'm able to serve my people, my community in that capacity, That's great. But we're after bigger things. We're after being part of a movement that is truly going to provide us with a better quality of life. And I hope you realize that, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you realize that. Ladies and gentlemen, today I wanted to talk about. Today we'll be talking about what a government shutdown actually means for us here locally in the valley. Good morning, Roman. How's your Wednesday going? Can hear.
Sorry. Internet is so fickle in Brownsville. I was so upset, Frankie, because I could not get this internet to work because Spectrum decided they wanted to shut off this morning. And I'm so sorry, but it is an interesting day today. We have government shutdown day. It's the Democrats' fault. We have Republicans having all sorts of fun on your page, and it's just going to be a Republican day today. And so, yeah, let's just get away and talk about how this government shutdown is going to affect us.
Yes, Roman, and the government shutdown did happen at midnight. And this occurs whenever Congress fails to pass legislation to federal agencies, programs. Usually it's because of political disagreements. Without proper funding, many government operations they must pause, so to speak. Non-essential federal workers are furloughed for the most part, meaning that they are temporarily out of work, out of pay. Essential services such as like the military, law enforcement, air traffic control, they typically continue to operate, but often without imminent pay. And shutdowns, they can affect, disrupt public services. They can have a delay in salaries and paychecks, and they could ultimately affect the economy. If you could give us a rundown, Roman, of what is happening at the in Congress at the federal level.
Well, right now, Congress has not been able to agree to a continuing resolution. It was passed in the House. The Senate did not pass it. You had, I believe, at least one U.S. senator from Pennsylvania that was voted in favor of the continuing resolution. The continuing resolution, all it does is say that the funding levels that are in existence right now will continue on. And what the Republicans in the House and the Senate wanted was another 7 weeks of continuing resolution, which is nothing different than what Democrats would do when they were in power, which is just continuing government funding at that same level. And the reason they wanted 7 more weeks is because they're going through the budget process. And that is what our founding fathers wanted when they passed and created the U.S. government under the U.S. Constitution in 1787. What that does is they are the purse. They have the power of the purse. They are the ones that determine what the budget is, and all the president can do is either sign it or veto. He can't line item veto. He can't say, hey, I don't like this particular thing. I'm not going to fund it or whatever. I'm going to reject it. He has to approve it. But in the last 30 or 40 years, it seems like the Congress can't come up with a budget every year. And all they do is say, well, we can't come up with a budget, so we're just going to continue, kick the can down the road and just keep funding everything at the same level. And they do continuing resolutions all the time, it seems like. So we're going through all these shutdowns like numerous times, whether it's Republicans in power or Democrats in power. But in this particular instance, the Democrats want to stop the budget process because they do not want an actual budget to be passed by the federal government, whether in the Senate or Congress. So they're putting their heads in the sand and then saying, or doing this with their fingers in here. No, I'm not doing an EO Sky thing. We're doing this. Put their fingers in the ears and going, no, 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 no. We're not going to do that. The Republicans say, no, we're going to. And they are in an impasse because some of the things that the Democrats want to add to the continuing resolution, as opposed to just doing clean, they want to add things like funding. At least that's what President Trump is saying, and Republicans are saying, is fund Medicaid to allow Medicaid and Medicare, um, that we the taxpayers to pay for health care for illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens, whatever word you want, phrase you want to use for them. That is what it seems like. And so we're at a shutdown, and it is going to affect people. President Trump is going to play hardball with these Democrats and say, look, if I don't have money to fund these programs, I'm not just going to lay off federal workers. I'm going to fire them because I don't have money. Because that's what this shutdown means. It means that there is no money to fund the government except for important emergency things like the military. The military gets funded. We need to have a military without this fund continuing resolution. Certain key cabinet positions get funded. Certain key positions in Congress gets funded. Certain key industry things like in immigration, certain aspects of ICE gets funded. Certain aspects of citizenship and immigration services gets funded. But other things like parks, food things, they don't get funded because there's no money. And so President Trump is going to not only lay them off or say, hey, furlough them. Hey, you can't come into work. You're fired. And he's pretty good at saying you're fired. He had a whole game show, reality show.
You're fired.
You're fired.
Um,
Frankie, you're running for school board? Did you announce? Dude, I
no,
didn't have internet for 30 minutes.
no. I went on a rant. I went on a rant about what did I say?
Oh, was it good?
Yeah, it was good. I think now people are gonna feed me. Now people are gonna. I went a little. I went a little rant that people say, that nobody cares about what you're saying, that nobody watches, and
What? Oh,
and
buddy. People watch
yeah,
you, buddy.
and I did say that is funny because people find, again, all I ask of my community is subscribe to our channel. That's the best way for me, for them to contribute, for them to be part of of what we're doing here, Roman. And I brought up the thing where I say, I will never ever ask you for money. I will never ask you for food. Well, it depends what you're making. And then I talked about what happened in Corpus, where somebody said, I'm paying for this. I'm paying for this. And I was like, okay. And that person said it like 3 or 4 times. And I was like, I got it. I got it. I think I got $30 in my pocket if I wanted to pay for this meal. But thank you. And then it dawned on me because I'm always saying, well, depends what you're making. Depends what food you're making. And also I spoke about how people, I never ask people for money. I always, because people have said, what's your Zelle? What's your this? And I said, no, don't give me money. Just, but people still, there was like 2 people that didn't ask me for it. They sent it to me and they said, did you receive it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I looked at my cash. I was like, oh crap. Like, how did you find it? So again, we're very thankful for our community. But the best way to support the cause, the best way to contribute to what we're doing here is subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. I just went on a little tangent this morning.
Well, so they need to
because of that.
subscribe to it. They need, please share it. Share his videos. I mean, look, he's not Erasmo Castro. Frankie's not Erasmo. But, Erasmo had, worked it for years and years to get to where he was before he passed away. Frankie is behind. So, if you like what he's sharing or what he's posting, share it on Facebook, share it on X, share it on YouTube, but especially subscribe to his channel. I mean, at this point, there's no reason why Frankie should only have, 802, 803 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, if he has over 40,000 people that follow him on YouTube, I'm pretty sure half of you all have a Gmail account at some level. Get on Gmail, get your YouTube and subscribe to it. It doesn't mean that by subscribing him, you're now all of a sudden, it's like the Wall Street Journal, you're gonna have to pay him monthly or something. That's not what it means. It's like another way of liking his page. So just please, or following his page on Facebook, it's just another terminology for it. It does not mean you're paying for the Wall Street Journal. So just subscribe to his YouTube channel, guys. Like, how hard is it? I mean, you can be like El Toker, and subscribe to him, or Dwayne Elizondo, or whatever, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho, who I don't know. He sounds a lot like El Toker.
Maybe Toker has different aliases. But that's correct. Erasmo Castro, had been doing this for the past 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. And we're what, 6 months into it. Taking over the 9 a.m. slot. But again, I think, and again, the most difficult thing for those people that aren't aware, the most difficult thing is to grow organically. That's very difficult. But slowly but surely we'll reach the 1,000 mark.
I actually have
Um,
MSNBC. Just to answer your question, El
mhm.
Toker slash Dwayne, I actually have MSNBC on.
Nice. I tend to watch. I tend to watch X. That's where I get my news, and it's weird. The mainstream media. We have to be careful because it's very biased, and it's difficult sometimes because we take whatever they have on there as being truthful. We saw how there was censorship just last week, Roman. YouTube came out and said that the Democratic Party, the Biden administration, had instructed uh, them to censor in regard to COVID, in regards to vaccine, in regards to President Trump. And we realized it, but we didn't have any proof until now. A few weeks last week, it was revealed that is the case. In regards to the shutdown, Roman, this is a stare down, so to speak. Republicans and Democrats. When's the last time that do you think that this is going to be an issue that is going to be resolved quickly, Roman, or is this a stare down that we're going to be dealing with for the next weeks, possible month or so?
It's going. Look, everything in Washington is run by polls.
Mm,
It's going to take, I think, right now, the stare down that they're doing. It's going to take who's losing the messaging war, who is the one that's getting blamed. If Republicans know that Democrats are getting blamed, they're not going to want to do a shutdown. They don't want to do a shutdown, and they know that Democrats are the ones getting blamed. They'll come to the table. If Democrats are not the ones being blamed and Republicans are being blamed, I don't know what happens at that point, because the Democrats may not want to come back to work, may not want to come back to the table if they know that Republicans are getting blamed. I mean, you have certain states like uh Texas has redrawn their maps. It's going to be okay by the courts. It's going to happen. They are going to have an advantage in Texas, and hopefully be able to keep your majority in Congress. But if Democrats are not being blamed on this and Republicans are, Democrats may use this as leverage so that in November of next year, not November next month, because we're already in October. It's weird. But next November, not this November, this year, November 2026, that they're going to get blamed. It's going to be good for Democrats. And I don't want to sound like I'm being crass, and I don't care about federal workers and how they're not getting paid, or people that are being forced to go work but they're not going to get paid. Certain, like the military, are not going to get paid. They have to be there. They're not going to get paid. You know, this affects them, and Democrats may decide they're going to play hardball, and they're playing hardball right now. I mean, they easily could have just signed this continuing resolution and be done with it. They did this a few months ago. You know, Chuck Schumer, the Senate minority leader, was okay with a continuing resolution, but his left wing people in his party were up in arms over the fact that he gave in. They're like, "You're horrible," and he wants to remain in power. He does not want to lose power in the Senate. These guys, and I think you said this before, Frankie. These guys live for power. They love power. Hey, Maggie, how you doing? How everything doing good with your daughter? Um, it just they need power. They want, and so they don't want to lose power. And Chuck Schumer's worried. He's worried about the left. He's not only worried about maintaining power as the Senate minority leader. Chuck Schumer is afraid of not little AOC, big AOC. And no, I'm not talking about her breasts. I'm talking about big AOC. I'm not. I'm referring to
What?
big little. Well, because I don't want people to think that when I say big AOC that I'm referring to her breast. I'm not. Or big head. I'm not referring to that either.
I don't
I,
think
I,
nobody's. I didn't think of that
I
until
just.
you said
Hey, well, I just want to make sure, just for
it.
clarification purposes. I
Jeez.
wanted like, hey, there's little AOC, which is the one I refer to AOC, our city commissioner, or big AOC, or real AOC. And again, real AOC. I'm not talking about her breasts, guys.
This
I'm not
guy.
saying real or not real.
That's funny because I did see something late last night, preparing for. Again, X is where I get all my information. I just skim through everything. I'm like, okay. I did see that big AOC, how you like to refer to her, that Chuck Schumer and his office is worried that she might run against him, or gain support, and take that power, that control away from him. And yesterday, the day before, she was interviewed by MSNBC, and while she didn't address Schumer, she did state, "Oh, you could come directly to me and talk about any issues that you may have." Is she circumventing? Is she, saying, "Hey, don't go to Schumer, go to me"? Are we beginning to see a shift in the tide, Roman, where the old guard, Pelosi, Schumer, and others are losing the support of the people, and now people are looking at a younger face in AOC. Again, AOC is contemplating running in 2028 for the presidency. She's contemplating running for the Senate, depending on a few things, of course. But are we beginning to see that, Roman, where people are um, tired, are ready for change, are ready for a newer generation within the Democratic Party?
I think there is a generation. I think you're onto something. There is a generational divide. There are, and I mean, you're kind of sort of seeing it even here in Texas,
Mm,
where you have old guard Democrats, somebody like Gilberto Hinojosa,
mm,
who he likes to think of himself as a moderate. He's not. He's just as liberal as these guys are. They're just like to pretend they're moderates. But Gilberto Hinojosa being a state party Democrat, Gilberto Hinojosa being a former county judge here in Cameron County, very influential, very powerful politically here in the valley, and then goes on to the state. He was constantly having to do this to his left, like, get away, like you are going to take us down the wrong path. And he just up and gave up like late last year. He's like, I'm done. I'm done. And now you're seeing the Democratic Party in Texas being overrun by these massive liberals. I mean, they're more liberal than the Brown Berets or were. They are more liberal than La Raza Unida Party back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, they are just liberal. They're not, and they're not ashamed of it. They're not. They have no shame for their liberalness. I mean, Otoker, Dwayne, you know, they like them. They're all together. They're okay. And I'm trying to make it easier for everyone to understand. It's happening, and it's happening in Washington as well, because AOC is now in a position of power because she has grown the strength of her little leftist communist little squad of hers, and it's grown in outsized influence, and that happens over time. Why? Because in Congress you need seniority. The longer you've been in office, the more seniority you get, because people leave, they lose their office, they retire, you know, God forbid they pass away. I mean, we've had several congressmen pass away of natural causes in the last few years. So as they go away, she gets higher, higher, higher in the pecking order in Congress. So she can go around and say, "Hey, you need me. You talk to me because I have power." She not only has political power because of her make up little things she does on Instagram or wherever. She has power because of her TikTok. She has a TikTok army that just listen to her. Everything she said, they're like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. Never mind, she was the bartender, whatever. They listen to Sandy. They care about what she has to say, and so she has this army. So Democratic Party has no choice that they want the young people to come to them. And circling back just do what Jen Psaki, the former Biden press secretary, liked to say, circle back. It ties well into what happened with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was talking to the young people, and the young people were listening to him. And there's no way that the leftists could have stomached young people becoming conservative. They need to become liberals, and so you do have this fight. And Chuck Schumer should be a little concerned because AOC, big AOC, real AOC, could run against him for U.S. Senate in New York. She'd probably win. She probably would kick his butt, and she could be a senator. Or she could do the more interesting thing is decide, you know what, I'm going to run for president. She's old enough now. She's over the age of 35. She's getting closer to middle age, just like all of us, or get to at some point. And she may decide to run for president, and she might actually win. But never forget what Charlie Kirk said. Myra Flores is more popular amongst Hispanics than AOC, which is why people like myself support Myra Flores. And you should too.
That's an interesting statement that you just said, and it dawned on me: have the Democratic Party in recent years forgotten, not targeted, not focused on the youth? Is that something that they saw in Charlie Kirk and they feared? Because again, if you have the future generations listening to you, mobilizing, you're energizing them, encouraging them to take part in this movement. That's very powerful. Maybe now the Democratic Party is possibly going to give the reins to someone like AOC, who, she's attractive. She has a following, a large following on social media. She really has her talking points in regards to what the liberals are inclined to support. Maybe we are starting to see a trend, Roman, out with the old, in with the new. Many people, in regards to the Democratic Party right now, are currently looking for their next candidate. Because when you think about it, would people vote for Kamala to become the Democratic nominee to challenge the Republican Party in 28? Possibly. Would they vote for Newsome? Um, it's hard to make that argument after seeing the how California is in its current state. So maybe they are looking for attractive females, attractive Hispanics, maybe ones that could, cause people to turn to come their way. In regards, Roman, in regards to you said something interesting. You think that there is a possibility that AOC could potentially assume the presidency?
Could AOC win and become president? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
Yes, I think she could.
Do,
I think she
do,
could because she's a very influential person, and she kind of relates um to moms and soccer moms, I guess. I mean, she's a woman. She's more likable than Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris came very close to becoming president, even though, she kind of cut in front of the line, I guess. I think AOC could become president because of the things that she says that might resonate with certain people. But I will say this: there's no way that AOC and Myra can run against each other for president because Myra is a Mexican-born national. Mexican-born. I'm sorry, she's a naturalized citizen. Sorry, and under the Constitution, a naturalized citizen cannot become president, cannot run for president. So I'm sorry to tell you, break the news to y'all, but that means that Elon Musk cannot be president either. So yeah. Um. So I think that I think my point about Myra being liked by Charlie was that at the time, Myra Flores was not allowed to, when she was in Congress, was forbidden from being part of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, even though she's a Republican. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus was not supposed to be, partisan. Or you can only be a Democrat Hispanic to join our group. Um, It's supposed to be about Hispanics on both sides, right? I mean, that's the way it is here in Texas, in the Texas House, for example. The Texas House has the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, and you have, Gene Wu, who's, I think, Chinese, Vietnamese. I don't know what Asian he is, Korean, I don't know. And he's a member of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus. You have Mark LaHood. I think it's LaHood or Vassy, one or the other. I can't remember which one it is. He's white. He's a Republican, and he's a member of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus here in Texas in the state. But in Washington, apparently, if you wanted to be a member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, you had to be his brown and you had to be a Democrat. And Charlie made this. Oh, thanks for posting this, Frankie. Notice my quoting the late great Charlie Kirk in July 2022. Notice Myra Flores did not vote to redefine marriage. Oh no, this is not the quote. It's another one. Um, with Charlie Kirk said that. Well, that's actually a good line quote from Charlie. Um, Myra, he said that Myra was denied from being part of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and a member of that caucus is AOC. And he was saying that according to remember polling matters, Myra Flores is more popular amongst regular Hispanics in the country than AOC is. All right. Yep.
Interesting. Interesting that that you say that. Again, the Democratic Party right now, they're trying to find their new face. Uh, Bernie Sanders, he's up in age. Peter Buttigieg didn't serve as a great, was a director of
He was the transportation secretary.
transportation department. There's no one that really stands out. The Castros, Joaquin Castro, and the brother, they really didn't leave a lasting mark, lasting impression within the American people. And now, Roman, now I guess we are in a standoff where the the issue, it seems, according to JD Vance, um, that the government, that the Senate Democrats are shutting down the government and holding the economy hostage because they want to reinstate benefits for illegal aliens. Is this something that you see the Democrat Party fighting vigorously for and not agreeing with the Republican Party in the near future?
The Democrats want to pretend that they're the party of the poor, that they're the party of the working class, and that they're a party of minorities. And all of those things, slowly but surely, the Republican Party under the Trump Vance administration has become the party of the poor, the party of the working class, the party of the minority. Um, Slowly but surely, that's what's happening. And I think Democrats in Congress don't know exactly what to do, and this is their best thing that they can do. And the fact that yesterday I think we talked a little bit about how the superintendent cannot read the room, right? And you had that pep rally, it's on TV, and just like he's being interviewed with cheerleaders behind him. They're on the field. He's being interviewed by Channel 4 sports director. I don't even know, Ray Romano. I have no idea what his name is. Ray Ramon Ramirez. I don't remember what his name is. And he's being interviewed, and you kind of see like I should have kept the recording, and you could see some of the what it looked like. The cheerleaders like, yay, like they know they're over there like yay, they're doing little pom poms and things like that, and they don't really know what to do. And you have Debbie Downer over here, the superintendent, talking about the bond. And I think that's right now where the Democrats are at in a way. They cannot read the room. They cannot understand what to do. That the American public, the American people, do not want to fund illegal immigration. They don't. No matter what our pro illegal immigration mayor John Cowan likes to say, the Americans do not want to fund illegal immigrants. They do not want to give them welfare. They do not want to give them Medicaid and Medicare. They don't want to give them any of this stuff because they themselves, American citizens, uh, legal immigrants, that are becoming these are naturalized citizens or have a permanent green card. They're paying their taxes, not using an illegal tax ID or using a fake number to pay their taxes. They're actually paying taxes, and there's they own property. They're trying to do good, and they see that when they go and pay their gas, for example, they're not paying $1 or $1.50. They're paying, but right now, I mean, I pumped gas yesterday. 2 days ago it was $2.40, and when I went to go pay yesterday, it was $2.99. I'm like, what the hell? What happened? Is it the fault of the president, or is it because we have government shutdown coming up ahead? I don't know what caused that, and so people are having to decide what to eat. They're eating home more. They're not able to enjoy going out to eat. So things like McDonald's, they're suffering. They live off the margins, and they're like, people are not coming and buying McDonald's because they can't afford McDonald's, so they're having to lower their prices for value meals so people can come in. And again, they see these illegal immigrants getting government handouts, and they hate it. They're mad. Democrats lost an election, lost the White House in large part because of what the Biden administration was doing for illegal immigrants. The as Myra said yesterday or day before yesterday, the Department of Justice was busy going and investigating moms in at school board meetings, and they were investigating the stupid stuff and not going after the illegal immigrants and deporting them, and targeting people who are hiring illegal immigrants and getting cheap slave like wages, giving slave like wages, or not slave like, slaves didn't get any money, indentured servitude. We'll go with that word instead. That's not cool. So Myra's pointing out that you had the Department of Justice prosecutors and whatnot doing all that stuff under the Biden administration. What was the Biden administration? And they lost an election. They lost in November, and that is what President Trump, that is what Vice President J.D. Vance, and that is what Speaker Johnson, and that is what Senate Majority Leader John Thune are doing. They are doing what the people voted them to do, and Democrats are like, don't know what to do. They're going crazy. They're nuts right now. They are going nuts and that what they've done is exactly what Vice President has said, holding the economy hostage because they want to give money to illegal immigrants or benefits to illegal immigrants.
So essentially, that's what it boils down to. And I think, Roman, that the Democrats, many people have argued that their agenda was for open borders, to be able to help them, because whenever you have open borders and you provide citizenship, you provide money to these people, well, they probably feel indebted to those people that let them in, which many people, and I think Elon Musk was a critic of this, where they were saying that they're doing this illegally. They're affecting the economy, they're affecting the safety of the United States, but in return, what they're getting is they're getting voters. They're making it unfair. They're making it to a point where people are allowed to come into this country and then register to vote and then vote for the Democrats. I think that is what Elon Musk had previously stated. Do you feel as if the Democratic Party will do everything in their power? Because when's the last time the government shut down? Was it in 2019? I think for a couple of weeks. This is a big deal because this doesn't seem as if it's going to be settled anytime soon. President Trump, he is saying, "Oh, well, we're going to have to fire people." Simple as that. Who's going to give in? What do you think is going to be the tipping point for this issue?
Um, eh, I think the tipping point is going to be whether or not Democrats are losing the messaging war. That is what it's going to be. That's the picture. That's what it is. That it's going to depend on whether Democrats are losing the messaging war or not. And I don't think they. I think the Democrats will ultimately lose the messaging war because they do not control Congress, neither House or the Senate. They have they're in the minority in the Senate, but they have a cloture proof minority, meaning that they, I guess, they have more than 40 votes, and I mean, so nobody can invoke cloture. And what that okay, so something like, what does cloture mean? Cloture means that you can end debate in the Senate. You need 60 votes to end debate and call the question and vote. And so long as you can debate, um, you can't call the question. And so that means you have to do more compromise, I guess you can say, with the minority party when you're in the majority. And right now, they can not end debate. I mean, the Republican in the Senate cannot end debate, and that means that they have to figure out what to do. I think at the end of the day, it's who loses the messaging war, and we'll get an idea in the next 2 or 3 days what the polling will indicate. I don't think the Democrats are gonna they're gonna want this shutdown to last a few days at least, and I hope they don't. I hope Democrats don't do this. I mean, MSNBC just had a post that said the government shutdown in 2018, 2019. Which, by the way, in 2018, Republicans were in control of both House and the Senate and the presidency, and the Democrats caused this. 2019, the Republicans were in the minority in Congress, and Democrats were in the majority. You had the anti-Trump wave, I guess, that happened in November 2018, but they claimed in the 2018-2019 shutdown, it cost the economy $3 billion with a B. And so, do Democrats want to cost the American economy $3 billion by having a shutdown that lasts a long time? I hope not.
Lolita has a question for you, Roman. Why is Maida more popular than AOC?
I think because she resonates with the conservative values and I think we have to realize that Hispanics are not all the same. I mean, you have Mexican Americans, you have Cuban Americans, Puerto Ricans who are actual U.S. citizens. They're not from another country. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. You have Hondurans. You have Guatemaltecos. You have people. From from Venezuela, Colombian. You have all kinds of from different national groups that are all tied together in being Hispanic. But overall, Hispanics tend to be more conservative. They tend to believe in family traditional values. They believe in these things. They believe in hard work. They believe in all these things that Myra believes in. They don't necessarily believe in all these government handouts. Now, do Hispanics tend to believe in a social safety net? Yes. They believe in something like that. Do they believe in government services being provided? Yes, they do. So that tends to lend to people believing that Hispanics can be very liberal, like AOC. I mean, AOC grew up in New York City, which is very very blue, very very liberal. And those Hispanics tend to think like her, right? That's why they elect people like her to Congress. But she tends to be on the more socialist side. She's a Bernie Sanders, Bernie bro kind of person, and that's not where the majority of Hispanics are. The majority of Hispanics are where Myra Flores is at, where she votes for things like, keeping marriage between a man and a woman. She votes for things like that, and it was funny because Charlie Kirk pointed that out. How there were a lot of Republicans in the House that voted to change the definition of what it is to be a man, what marriage was, and Myra didn't. Myra kept marriage between a man and a woman. Yeah, I think that's why. I think that's why she's. I think that's why Myra was more popular. She's more likable. I mean, she doesn't have a New York accent. She has a Hispanic accent. You know, She's really, she tries to do real stuff, talk about issues. She's not necessarily talking about makeup. Not that she doesn't know how to put on makeup. She does, obviously. Um, but she talks issues. She doesn't talk about other stuff, and that's why I think that she is more popular. A
Interesting.
regular Hispanic is a majority of Hispanics, mainstream Hispanics. What else do you think it means? It's called a thesaurus. Use it.
So again, the issue at the national level is that the Democrats want uh, health care for all. The Republicans aren't budging. They're saying that that the illegal aliens should not receive those services. Here locally, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez did post a few days ago. He stated the following: "I am committed to renewing the tax credits that make healthcare more affordable for our working families, seniors, and veterans. If Congress doesn't act now, monthly insurance costs will skyrocket up to $420 monthly for more than 100,000 South Texas um, residents." Do you think, Roman, that this will ultimately be the tipping point where, again, people will be affected by this, but what's going to give for the Republican Party um, to see this, I guess.
Well, again, it's going to depend on polling and messaging, but I mean, Vicente Chenda Gonzalez is the same person that voted against seniors getting a tax credit. That's what he did. Senior citizens were going to get a tax credit. The people that have to live on a retirement or on live off Social Security, they were going to get a $6,000 tax credit under the President Trump's plan and the President Trump and the Republican plan. And this guy voted against it. But this guy wants to say he's in touch with real people. Give me a break. He's more concerned. He's more concerned about illegal immigrants getting Medicaid than he is about senior citizens who pay taxes and getting a tax credit. Which you might think, well, that's welfare. Well, no, it's the fact that they've been putting out um, everything that they've been putting into government over the last 30, 40 years as they've been working and now in retirement. They've been putting that stuff away. They've been paying their taxes at a higher rate, and now you wanted to give them the Republicans wanted to give them a tax credit, a tax cut, and you were like, no, I don't want to do it. So how about Chente? Go F yourself on that one, buddy. You know, and don't get me wrong, I like Chente. He's a good guy in many respects. He's a personable guy. But politically, we don't see eye to eye on stuff. We don't. And I think that's just going to be a real problem. I mean, again, he's more in favor of tax credits. And there you go. That's the language. That's what he did. That is what he did. He voted to hike taxes and jeopardize benefits, and now he's over here saying that he wants to care about health insurance and health hospitals in the district. He doesn't care.
Interesting. Again, just a reminder: Vicente Gonzalez did vote to hike taxes, which jeopardized benefits for Texans. Real wage increase from $3,900 to $6,900. Real take home pay increase $7,500 to $10,700. Senior benefits from benefiting from no tax on Social Security $4 million. No tax on tips. Share labor force benefit 5%. No tax on overtime. Share workforce benefit 27%. And job protection of almost 600,000 jobs. And the NRCC did state, the spokesman did state, the facts couldn't be any more clear. President Trump and Republicans, one big beautiful bill is a huge win for Texans. Instead of supporting this landmark legislation, out of touch Democrat Vicente Gonzalez tried to stop it, and Texas voters won't forget. Have you seen, Roman? Have you seen the commercials out against Vicente Gonzalez already?
Mm-hmm.
Where I see it on YouTube. I'm always on YouTube, and I see it where they say that he voted against no tax on tips, and that was it's a very powerful commercial, and it touches it kind of moved me because at the end of the day, that's the common worker, Roman. That's the common folk. How many people work in the hospitality industry that do heavily rely on this money. Again, my idea of Vicente Gonzalez going against this is that he is part of the Democratic Party where they don't want to give in to President Trump. They don't want President Trump to pass for this one big beautiful bill to be everything that they said it was. They're just trying to give him um, just to be a thorn, I guess you could say, just so President Trump and the Republican Party won't look good. But at the end of the day, what's really happening, Roman, is that the average worker, that the average American is being heavily affected by this. And people such as Vicente Gonzalez aren't aren't seeing it, don't want to tell the people, are lying to the people, because at the end of the day, it affects them in a very important area, which is their pocketbooks.
Mm. I think I think this guy's funny. He takes everything in a grain of salt, yet he's here. You know, commented away. Which is fine. You can do that. I take everything what you say. Well, I don't even think it. I think a grain of salt is a little bit too much, Dwayne El
Hmm.
Toker. I think I take everything with like a lot less than a grain of salt, smaller. Um, might even be a microgram of a grain of salt. Ha! Look that up if you don't know what a microgram is. Okay. Um, I think that going back to what you were saying about taking people like well what I was saying and what Luita was saying, like, why do people relate to Myra? You had, I think, one of these guys is out there saying that Myra is out of touch with people he should be working with a Mexican restaurant. And it's funny you say that, because that's exactly why she relates to people. Because people that work at Mexican restaurants, people that receive live off the tax, that live off their own tips, those are the people that Myra relates to, and those are the very people that Vicente Chente Gonzalez does not. You know, so Myra goes into a Mexican restaurant and she can have a conversation with those people that work there. She have a conversation with the cooks, even the owners of the Mexican restaurants. That's why Myra relates to those people, and you make it seem like it, that she works at that she should be working at a Tex-Mex restaurant, and yet that's okay. That's what makes it work for her, and that's why people like her. That's why she is liked by not only Hispanics in the valley that like her, that just they meet her. I have been around her. She is I consider her one of my closest personal friends. Myra is, and I have been with her, and the joy that people get from meeting her is unlike the kind of joy people get when they meet a Chente Gonzalez. And I think that Chente is envious of that. No, no, I don't think, and then again, I've never really been around Chente, but I know enough people that have been around Chente. I've never heard from anybody that says, "Man, I was with Chente and the waitress was like, oh my God, oh, Chente, ¿cómo está?" Y todo, like that, like the first time. I'm not talking about a place that Chente's been to all the time, but I'm talking about like the first time that Chente walks in. They don't even know who the hell the guy is, for one. And two, they don't go lovey dovey and enamored by Chente, but they do with Myra. They do with Myra because she relates to them. She's likable. She's on TV. She's on Univision. She's on Telemundo. And speaks their language. She speaks Spanish, and they like her. And at the same time, I have been with Myra, and white Republicans like her too. And I'm not talking about the ones that are angry at her because of personal issues or whatever. I'm talking about the everyday white Republicans. And yes, they exist, and they like her too. So she builds a divide amongst Hispanics and white people that live in South Texas. So I think there's a jealousy, and a friend of mine was asking me a few days ago, Roman, is it true? Is it true that Chent is going around telling people that he wants to run against Myra? And aren't you worried that he's trying to get that isn't that saying that Myra is weaker than all the other Republicans that are running for Congress against her? And I said, no, that's not what it is. I mean, one, there was a ginormous poll that showed that none of these other Republicans that are running against Myra are going to be able to touch her or beat her. No, it's because Chente is still butthurt over the fact that Myra has made this race close against him every time. Yeah, and he wants to go for the three-peat. He wants to be like the Lakers and going for the three-peat. You know, he wants to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. But you know what? I don't think anybody's won 3 Super Bowls in a row, have they? You know, and so he wants that three-peat, and he wants to be able to hold it over because he's angry that people like Myra, maybe not in the ballot box and when they run against each other, but they seem to like her a lot, and he can't stand it. It angers him. It frustrates him that people actually like her, because Chente thinks of himself as the smartest guy in the room. I think he's still angry that Myra kicked his ass in the debate, and I say kicked his ass because she held her own. I think she wanted to debate against him, and I think it irks him. It bothers him. And I'm sure I'm going to get calls from some of Chente's friends who are going to tell me, Roman, you're full of shit. I'm not. You know I'm right. You know it bothers him. He can't sleep at night. He thinks about it. He's obsessed with trying to beat Myra a third time. But guess what? He won't. He can't. It will not happen. So it's not that Chent is going around saying he wants to run against Myra because he thinks he's better and stronger and he can beat her. He already thinks that about everybody else. He knows he can beat them. Hell, I think he can beat them. That's why I support Myra, because I think Myra can actually win. And that's what he wants. He wants to beat her. He wants to be able to hold it over. He wants to say that no one can buy over the election yet. This is the same guy. I don't know if you heard this, Frankie, but I know I've heard this. That he's the one going over to the DCCC and begging for money. He's the one going to the DCCC saying, you need to give me money so I can run for re-election. Or if not, I have an $800,000 cash on hand and I have $700,000 loan, personal loan. I'm just going to cash out and I'm gone. And then what are the Democrats going to be able to do, Frankie? What are the Democrats going to be able to do? Who the hell are they going to be able to find if Chente isn't able to get the money from the DCCC? Well, you know what, Chente, do what Myra does and go out there and fundraise, because she does. You know, yesterday at midnight was not just the start of the government shutdown, Frankie,
Mm.
but last night was the fundraising deadline for the third quarter. We're going to find out in the next week or two. We're going to find out how much some of these people raised. And I got and not to go off on an even longer tangent, but people are asking me, do you think that Eric is going to be able to raise more money than Myra? And I said, probably. And it's like, well, why? Shouldn't that mean that he's stronger? No, it's because I believe, no inside information, but I believe that Myra for a whole month wasn't exactly fundraising because she was making a determination as to whether or not she wanted to switch parties. Switch party, go and come back and
Districts.
run in 34 or run in 28. And you know, I think that Myra, because of that, didn't want to raise a ton of money in 28 and then have to say, you know what, I'm not going to run in 28. I'm going to run in 34, because that money should go to a Republican candidate in 28. That's what I think anyway. But there's a lot. So we'll find in the next couple of weeks a lot about that race, where we stand with money. Man, I went down a rabbit hole.
A very interesting rabbit hole. So Vicente Gonzalez is the incumbent. Shouldn't he have an easy? Shouldn't it be easy for him to raise funds, Roman, for his campaign?
I'll say it again.
Vicente Gonzalez being an incumbent
Mm.
congressman, the way you made it seem was that he went to go beg at the national level for money.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said, or did I
No, I
misunderstand?
I I I heard from reliable sources, the reliable Democrats, and who told me that he went to the DCCC and he went over and he said, "Hey, I want to run for reelection, but you got to give me my money, or I'm cashing out. And if you don't give me money, I'm not going to run." for reelection. That's what I heard. I don't know if you heard that too. I
I
mean,
yeah. I haven't. I just find it weird how I would think that it would be easy for him to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, being an incumbent. But maybe he's seen, the trends. Do we even know if he's had a poll? Do
I haven't.
incumbents do incumbents look for polls? I would think so, because the way you made it seem is that's the way the government operates, right? They get a feel. They get feelers just to see, you know, what the people, what's the sentiment out there. So for Vicente Gonzalez to go to the national level and beg for money, it kind of seems like he's giving them an ultimatum, Roman. He's saying,
Yeah.
give me this. If not, I won't run. Is that what you
Yes.
inferred from
Yeah.
from the
hmm
source?
Because I think he knows. I think he knows that the map is not to his favor. I mean, he was on. I have not heard of any polling being done by Chente. I have not, and not only that, but you know, I usually there when they do these kinds of polls, I'll have I know several Republicans and Democrats who get calls all the time for being polled. You know, and I haven't heard of any of them getting polled at all. And I think it's to Chente's detriment that he hasn't done a poll, or maybe he doesn't thinks he needs to do a poll because he knows the map is not drawn to his favor. Although it was funny, I was talking to a Republican who was like, "Please, Roman, you need to tell Myra that this is a D+1 seat." And I'm like, "Dude, are you moron? Are you dumb?" Like, and he's a friend of mine, so I can say that about him. And like, I literally to his face, "Are you stupid? Are you dumb?" Like, no. Like, kind of like at Oswald, "Are you stupid? Are you dumb?" Oh, I miss him saying that. um. Anyway, miss it Oswald so much. Um. Anyway, so I like told that to his face. He's like, no, I had to tell him, I had to explain to him the map and everything. He's like, oh, you mean to tell me, Roman, that Hidalgo is no longer in the district? I'm like, you're trying to tell me that this is a D+1 map and you didn't know that Hidalgo County is no longer in the map? Like, dude, bro, like, what's up? Anyway, so I think he understands it without necessarily doing a map, doing a poll, sorry. And I think he understands that. And but he has this hubris about him. He has this chutzpah about him that he's like, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna prove everybody wrong anyway because I'm from Corpus, right? I think I've said that before. At least if not on the show, definitely to you personally. But you have people like Lloyd Doggett that have decided I'm not gonna run for reelection under this map. You have had other Democrats, you know, Republicans and Democrats around this time of year they determine I am not going to run anymore. They either decide I'm not going to run anymore because I've been in a Congress long enough that I can get retirement. I'm not feeling well. I just don't want to go through another race. You have even some Republicans, like McCall, Representative McCall. I think he's chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the House. He's from the College Station area. I think he's congressional district number 9, and he's not going to run for reelection. And why is he not going to run for reelection? Is it because 40% of his district is new and he has to get to know those people? I don't know. But you have people that retire, and it's not, sometimes people retire because they know they're not going to win the next election cycle. They've done this and they feel the air, and they know that the opposition party is going to be able to trounce them, and they don't want to lose. And or you get somebody like Filimon Vela who decides, I just want to be a lobbyist and retire. So that happens all the time. The difference is here with Chente is that Chente can't can't read the room and is trying to hold on for power just a little bit and raise money because he wants to pay back his personal loan of, I guess, $700,000.
Interesting stuff. And he did post a few days ago. We are one day away from a completely avoidable government shutdown. Republicans are in complete control here and have a responsibility to keep our government functioning for the people it serves. I am ready to work with anyone on funding that actually helps South Texas. What's your what are your thoughts in regards to that post from the congressman.
I think he likes to mislead people and misinformation there because Republicans are not necessarily in complete control. If they were in complete control, they'd have 60 senators to shut down debate and be able to call the question, and take a vote. You know, when they need to be able to have 60 votes, and they don't, so they're not in quote complete control, as Vicente Chente Gonzalez falsely claims. Now, if he's trying to say, well, Republicans hold the majority in the Senate and the majority in the House and the White House, well, yeah, that's true. That is true. But it is what it is. I mean, I believe that he voted against continuing funding the government. So he's more look, he's more interested in funding illegal immigrants than he is in funding the rest of government. He made a choice. He said to the park ranger, I'm sorry about I don't care about your money. I don't care about your pay. I don't care about your mortgage. I don't care about your car payment. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is those illegal immigrants getting Medicaid, Medicare. That's what I care about. That is his deciding vote. So everybody else, all these other government employees, he doesn't give a flying rat's ass about you. The military that having to go to work this morning and knowing they're not going to get paid until after the government comes back and hold off, he didn't care about you either. He didn't care about your money or your car payments or any of that. He doesn't care about you. He cares about the other, and that is the crux of it. That is the dilemma, and that is the messaging war. Who wins it? Who wins it? And right now, I'm going to say, right now I think the Republicans can win this messaging war, relatively easily.
What is it going to take, Roman, um, for them to accomplish that?
What?
Because you're saying that it's going to be a messaging war. What should we, the people, expect?
I think
For blogs, for people on X, for people to show that distinction of what you just stated, that hey, look, these people would rather give benefits to others and not put America first. Is that the message that the Republicans want to convey?
well, that's what they are doing, but I think it also means that putting into talking about that park ranger, talking about that military worker, talking about those people not getting paid because Democrats want to pay for illegal immigration benefits. And when you make it a story about individual, Democrats are really good at this, by the way. The mainstream media is very good about this, about telling these stories when Republicans are in the minority and the Democrats are in the majority and there's a government shutdown. Will the mainstream media do these stories? Will they say, hey, these guys whatever, and then go off and say, and the reason they're suffering is because government Democrats like Vicente Chente Gonzalez and Democrats, I guess, like Bobby Polito want to do those things. They want to fund illegal immigration benefits. I don't think mainstream media will do it. They, well, Republicans need to do it. They need to keep saying that. They need to say that what I just did. That person not getting paid because they want some illegal immigrant from China to get benefits. That person not getting it because they want some illegal immigrant from Nigeria to get that. They don't want to get they don't want to fund this particular person because somebody, and not necessarily just make it about Mexicans coming into this country illegally, or Venezuelans or Colombians or any. Don't even, maybe not even bring that up. Talk about the other illegal immigrants that are out there. Maybe that'll convince them. But who knows? I don't know.
Interesting stuff. Again, what happens at the national level ultimately has ripple effects, and right now it is it is a stare down. Um, it is a political issue, and for the average person, well, it does affect us immediately. It is disruptive. When the government shuts down, it means that Congress has failed to fund legislation for the upcoming fiscal year. Um, and the consequences could possibly, Roman, could possibly affect the economy, daily services, the lives of millions of Americans on both sides of the aisle. Um, that's the issue at hand, so to speak. Democrats want to provide health care for all, including illegal immigrants, while the Republican Party has a stance of America first. Who's going to blink? That is something that we will see in the very near future. Roman, if I'm not saying you are, but if you were to be a Nostradamus, could I have like an over under on time in regards to what we're looking at? If you were to hypothetically say, "Oh, I could foresee this lasting 1 week, 2 weeks,
I
a
think
month."
week. I think I can see it lasting a week. I mean, we're already in Wednesday. It's not early in the week, and so I could see it lasting a week. I mean, dem, de, but then again, I mean, you have Saturday, Sunday. They have college football. They have Friday night. It's a couple of days away. Um, Democrats won't be able to leave to go back to their home districts or their home states if they're in the Senate until this happens. So it might not only last a couple. It might only last a couple of days. It might because they might want to go home. But if it doesn't, if it goes into the weekend, this thing can last till next week easily.
And again, I believe I read somewhere late last night that the last time we had a shutdown was in 2019, and that lasted 2 weeks.
I think you're
If
right.
I'm not mistaken. So the ramifications of this are big, and according to Roman, he's saying that he's making the argument that whoever wins the messaging war is ultimately going to be the party that is going to have their way, so to speak, on this very, very important issue. Um, what's happening here locally, Roman, at the local level? Would you care? Would you want to talk about the?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, it's on your page. A lot of the Republican stuff, because that's what you want. I think you want to talk about Republican stuff a little bit. It's on your page. You have people commenting away and being upset. You know. But you know what? I was watching it. Let me go back.
Hmm?
It's. I'm laughing, not at your statement because one, I don't agree with you on that statement, but I'm more laughing at the idea of Adam Carolla had a bit where he said that he doesn't understand why people don't like ICE and people Democrats don't like ICE, and I think it's because it just sounds too cold. The name ICE, it just sounds too cold and whatever. How hard would it be for them to rename Immigration Customs Enforcement, which stands for ICE, to make it the National Immigration Customs Enforcement and make them nice, and then have those big old jackets that say "Nice Agent." It's like so when you have an ICE agent, handcuffing somebody or hauling them off or whatever, it's like they're not going to be look at that mean old ICE agent. Oh, look at that, the nice agent. Well, obviously the nice agent. I Okay, we're allowed to laugh here, guys. I guess it's not even funny for even Frankie. Frankie not even laughing at my rehashing the joke that Adam Carolla did. Anyway, I think we should. I agree with him. I think we should rename it. I think we should rename it Nice. Hell, I want to. I would love to have one of those like jackets that said "Nice Agent." That'd be great.
Nice agent. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff happening locally. It's on your page. You want to pull it up, and you can say some of the comments that are there. And you had some groups out there claiming that um oh, I I think it's funny when people like Gumbo and others try to claim people like Frankie are somehow coconuts. I find y'all funny that
I
the only prism that they think of is their color of their skin and not necessarily what's inside our heads, inside our minds. I find it funny, and I think it's also funny that you know they're Cameron County and Hidalgo County, Willacy County, and Starr County are all majority Hispanic counties, and they all voted for Trump. They didn't vote for every Republican down the ballot, but they voted for Trump. And I think it bothers you a lot, doesn't it? It's like, I can't believe it that people voted that way. Like, how could they vote for that mean old orange man and be all upset? It'll probably upset you right now that there's polling out there that if the election were held today between Kamala and Trump, Trump would still win. Bet you it upset you and make you angry. So yeah, I I don't really. I think it's hilarious that you all are suffering. And you know what? To be honest with you, I enjoy your pain. I don't. I like it. I like your pain. I like the fact that you're suffering and that you're having to be on a blog and comment away and put out your little frustration, little keyboard warriors. And you can't convince anybody. We can. I think people like me and Frankie and others that are conservatives, that people are listening to us, and I think it bothers you. And the reason they listen to us because we we're not thinking through the color of our skin and keep commenting away. I mean, all it does is give more views to Frankie. So do it, please. Continue to comment away because I love it. I really, really do enjoy it because I do watch it afterwards and I laugh.
yeah,
Hmm.
I find it I find it disheartening. People are saying, "Oh, you're a Mexican, you're Hispanic, you're brown, you're supposed to vote Democrat." Really? I think people should treat politics such as a business. You
Hmm.
know, what have you done for me lately? And our vote is very sacred. We always say, "Oh, you need to vote. It's your civic duty." And what has the Democratic Party provided us? If we're talking about here, South Texas, what have they done for our area? We are one of the poorest areas in all of the country. We're one of the least educated in all of the country. For us to say, "Oh, how dare you go away from that?" Well, what have they done? They have not provided opportunity. They have not provided us with a better quality of life. Shouldn't we break that cycle, Roman? Shouldn't we see what's out there in the field? Because at the end of the day, that should we what we all should strive for. And look, I get it. I have friends that are diehard Democrats and they're blue through and through. I think the more practical thing, the more logical thing would be to test the market, see what's out there. You mean to tell me that you're okay with being one of the poorest areas, with being one of the least educated area? I voted Democrat before. The very first time I voted for a Republican was President Bush, son. And then I voted for Barack Obama because I thought, oh, he's a minority. And he's going to,
Hmm.
that was my worst decision that I've ever made, in my opinion, voting for Barack Obama.
Hmm.
When President Trump ran in 2016, I voted for President Trump. When he ran for 2020, I voted for President Trump in 2020. This past November, I voted for President Trump because I believe in his message that America first. So I understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. Dwayne and Gamboa saying, "Oh, you think you're white, and you think no." We understand we're Mexican. We understand we have a Hispanic culture, Hispanic heritage. But at the end of the day, we should put America first in everything. Now, are we dealing with a a humanitarian issue in regards to immigration? Of course. But there is law and order in this country. And we feel as if those individuals that have been through the process, that have paid their dues, that have done it the right way, they should be entitled. As long as they meet the requirements, they should be granted citizenship. But those people that come here illegally, I'm all for, Roman. I'm all for helping veterans. I'm all for helping the homeless before we help out illegals.
Mm,
Maybe that's not the popular thing to say, but look at our maybe we don't see it as much here in the Rio Grande Valley, but there's a great need for veterans, a great need for veterans. I don't want to say that we do have a very serious homeless issue. Possibly, I haven't seen it, to be honest with you. But whenever our priorities, whenever our resources are spent on this, that's where I have a problem,
mm,
because we have people who fought, did the ultimate sacrifice, and enlisted for our country, and then they come back home and they don't have the adequate care, adequate resources needed for them to live a humble, decent life. That's what bothers me. Then you have these illegals getting what, Roman? They're getting like 5,000, 10,000. They're getting a phone. They're getting hotels. They're getting this. So you mean to tell me that same energy, that same priority wasn't given to an American veteran who served his country, who that same attention was not given to an American who has fallen on hard times? I
mm.
understand, this is a humanitarian issue, but we need to put America first. It's as if Dwayne and Gamboa, do you feed your household or do you feed the neighbors? Your priority should be your household. And maybe if there's resources available, maybe you can feed the neighbors. Maybe you can clothe them. Maybe you can provide them, but you don't. Why don't you bring those people into your homes if you think, what did Dwayne say? Oh, I'm all about human rights. Invite them into your home, feed them, clothe them, but you don't. You use this as talking points. That's that again. To me, it's mind-boggling where people say, "Oh, you're Mexican, you should be a Democrat." No, I'm an American. I'm an
Mm.
America. And I want the American people to receive. I got your hypocrite right here, Dwayne. I want the American people to receive the attention, the resources before anyone else.
Mm. I, there's a lot of truth in what you said, Frankie. I mean, I'm a Catholic, and I heard the Pope yesterday claim that, and I think falsely claim that there are people that's in our country, many, I guess, many pro-lifers, people that oppose abortion and the killing of babies, that there are many of them that support the quote inhumane treatment of immigrants, end quote. And that's just factually untrue. I'm pro-life, and I don't support the inhumane treatment of immigrants. However, I do believe in law and order, and I don't believe that our government is in a mass state inhumanely treating immigrants. And it really bothered me that the Pope, who is an American, he's definitely not American first, but he's an American, and he's basically parroting the same words that Pope Francis said. Or that if you believe, and it bothered me because there are a lot of Catholics that work in ICE, or they work in, CBP. There are a lot of Catholics that vote there, and he's judging them essentially by saying that they are inhumanely treating immigrants. And I don't like that. I mean, you're not. I was hoping that the new pope would be a different. more be a better version of Francis. I did never liked Francis in terms of his politics or some of the things that he did or said. And I was hoping we were through with that, but apparently we're not. We still have an essentially a leftist and in the papacy. And I also didn't like the fact that he says that you can't be pro-life and be and support the death penalty. And that's actually more of a recent phenomenon in the church. And the recent phenomenon is Francis when he changed the catechism of the Catholic faith, and he said that being that supporting the death penalty is inadmissible. Yet you have had saints, some of our greatest saints, like Saint Thomas Aquinas and others, support the death penalty in their time and said it was fine. We have eons and papers and conversations with popes and others and religious leaders prior to Francis that thought the death penalty is admissible, is not necessarily unlawful under the eyes of God. And so the reason I bring this up is because I think people like Dwayne and Gamboa and I do appreciate you all commenting. I do laugh at what you have to say, but I'm sure you all laugh at what I have to say because we don't agree, which is fine, the American way. But they probably think that we believe in the inhumane treatment of immigrants, and we don't. But if you want to be a humanly or humane, next time you're driving by, and I'm assuming y'all live in Brownsville, next time you're driving by and you see that, African American homeless man on the side and at the underneath their overpass and on whether it's on Boca Chica and the expressway or over on Morrison, because I think he hangs out there too. Pick him up, help him out, and take him into your house and hang out with him. Let him stay with you, or do that before you start criticizing what Frankie and Roman and other Hispanic conservatives believe. But you won't do it, and you all are probably the same kind of Hispanics who don't even know how to do an accento on a name, or you don't even know what an accento really is or where it goes. You can't. You probably can't even conjugate a Spanish word properly. I can, but you probably can't. And yeah. Well, it's getting late. It's already almost 11 o'clock. I apologize for being late, Frankie. And we went out down a rabbit hole a little bit. But maybe tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about Republican stuff and what's going on social media. And if I can tell my Republican friends out there, especially my friends in Hidalgo County who seem very, 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 very obsessed with Myra Flores and the Texas 34 race. Please, guys, concentrate on you all's congressional races in 15 and 28 because Congressional District 34 does not reside in Hidalgo County. You all have a very, very difficult race with Monica De La Cruz and Bobby Pulido. And yes, Bobby Pulido is going to be the nominee. It's not going to be that Dr. Ana Cuellar. It's not. Okay, let's be real. It's not going to be her. It's going to be Bobby Pulido. And you all need to worry about that race. And you all need to figure out who your nominee is going to be in Texas Congressional District 28. And stop paying attention to what your Hidalgo County resident Eric Flores is doing in 34. And don't just please. And don't get me wrong, I like Eric. I'm supporting Myra. I am very much supporting Myra. But you all obsession with 34 is worrying me because that you all are going to be more worried about 34 in this primary instead of worrying about building the party. I mean, I believe they even had a Young Republicans convention and there was only one delegate from Hidalgo County there. They used to have one of the largest Young Republicans groups going to conventions at the state. And I think they only had one. Guys, you need to make sure you Build your party over there. And this is just my advice to you because I care a lot about my friends in Hidalgo County. I do. Um, and then my friends in Cameron County who seem to be divided over whether to support Eric or anybody else. It's going to be a lot of candidates out there running in the race, and it's going to end up being Myra. It just is.
Is there somebody new, Roman, that is gonna join the race in District 34?
Yeah, there's more people. I think Brad Johnson posted a name. A friend of mine, I consider one of my a good friend of mine, Luis Puenteo, was going to run in the Republican primary. He's originally from Brownsville, but worked for Blake Farenthold and worked for Michael Cloud in Congress. He lives in Corpus with his family. But I guess he filed paperwork over the weekend to run for Congress in 34.
Interesting. Does this connection to Blake Farenthold in Nueces County, does that make him a player, Roman?
I think it makes him more of a challenge for Freddie Hinojosa. But I'm Freddie
Mm.
Hinojosa. I'm more concerned about him um, than Myra and Eric. It's gonna it's look. I've and I'll say this from now until March. Myra's gonna be the nominee. I think Myra wins without a runoff. So
Wow.
all these other guys are running, for second place. But Fred's strategy is essentially he's hoping that Myra and Eric have a fight out in Cameron County, and then all these individuals start running and support Fred. But Fred has already made his bed, uh, and I obviously I'm supporting Myra, and I probably shouldn't be giving Fred any advice here on the show, but Fred's going around there saying, "You like me, vote for. Or you like my brother, vote for me." He literally did that again on Monday at the Willacy County Conservatives Coalition meeting. And I'm just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, I wasn't there. I just heard it. But that's what his thing is. And I'm serious. At this point, we need to get Chat GTP to create you know, do a yard sign for Fred that has a picture of Adam Hinojosa, not a picture of Fred, and write, vote for my brother Fred, and then do a political action paid committee paid for by Adam Hinojosa's brother, because that's what it boils down to, guys. That's what he's doing. I think he's making a mistake doing that, but I don't believe he's getting any traction in Nueces County as he should. My friends up there have told me, and I think Luis Puenteo might be more of a challenge for Fred because Luis is a more attractive candidate. He's married, has two beautiful kids. He homeschools these kids. He's very religious. He's worked in the private sector and the public sector. He is congressman material. He also is probably going to hire a well-known political consultant out of the Coastal Bend, and so he might be more of a challenge for Fred than anybody else. And so Fred's plan, I think, was always to have Cameron County divided and hope that Myra and Eric pull it out, and he's able to unite Nueces County. And I don't think that's going to be possible now with Luis Puenteo coming in. Frankly, I don't think it was possible to even even before Luis Puenteo got in the race, because I think Myra Flores is slowly but surely building a solid base in Nueces County that she's going to win without a runoff.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. Roman, any last words?
Yeah. Um, if you know any federal workers and they don't have any money, Gamboa and Dwayne, give them some money. Help them out, because this government shutdown is y'all's fault. That's my last
Ladies,
word.
ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Best believe Good Morning Bronzo will come on Monday to Friday at 9 a.m., sometimes a little bit after, religiously. So make sure you subscribe to always keep up to date with what is going on and what the issues, the very important issues that are affecting our local community. My name is Frankie. This is Roman. Peace. Happy Wednesday.